Hey, this is Chris Green, this is The Design Life, and this is our first logo critique. Okay, so I put a request into the Graphic Design Tips Lounge for anybody that wanted a logo review to put their logo in there, and then I'm going to take those logos, do my little review, and then hopefully that's good feedback for the person. So some of this might be brutal, some of this might be really useful, but all of this is my opinion, and it's based off how I think as a designer, how I probably would have approached it or would have thought about it differently, because it's very hard for me to understand what the client was asking for, or if it's a personal project, what you were going for, because we haven't got that much context. So I'm going to jump right in now. And to start with, we've got Samantha Pearson, and this is her personal brand graphic design business, a logo she's done for herself. So let's have a look. Okay, so I'm assuming that Sam goes by the name Sam a Lamb for some reason. She'll have to explain that to me. And you've got this kind of nice lamb image in the middle. As a brand mark, I quite like it. On first impressions, if I was going to sort of give you some suggestions, it would be that this outer line here is pretty dominant compared to what's inside of it. So either make this larger, maybe coming out here somewhere. So this thickness of line here, if you come across another thickness, that's maybe where that ear could start, and it would give much more prominence to this here. The other thing is you've used a circle here, which I think assume goes around here, and another circle above, and then these cutout ears here. This lamb's face would be probably better just slightly curving off there, but these are little tweaks. So overall good, but probably a bit too thick on that outer line. And then I think I did ask you to, where is it? I did ask you to sort of show me in context, which you've done. And here's your business card with, "Hi, I'm Sam a Lamb." Again, you're going to have to explain that to me. And I think it looks really nice on here. I like the way you've used the blue here. Maybe that blue would have been nice around here because it would have knocked that line back and thrown this lamb picture forward a bit. Similar how you've incorporated this blue line here. Maybe you have a blue line here, and you could have used a bit of that shape on the business card part on the right hand side. But overall, I like it. It's good, solid. Probably just needs a bit of tweaking. So well done, Samantha. Second one, from Perez, I'm assuming I'm saying that right. Personal branding, once again, for Perez web development, UI design, and UX design. I wanted it to be small enough that it could be used as an icon on an app. And that's a great point. You should create logos so they can be used very small, very large, and it keeps that integrity throughout. So I can see what you've done here with the E and with the P. So obviously Perez using the letters from your name. What I would say is the colours I quite like. I like this dark blue, and I like this turquoisey type green colour. This to me looks really awkward here, how the E just is so sharp against the P. You've used a really nice rounded typeface here. I can see you've also stretched the E out, so it looks a bit elongated, and to someone, again, I can see why you've done that because you wanted to finish that off there with the P. Now maybe there was a way of doing this where you could make this whole thing fit really nicely within the shape of the P, so you can round it off here, bring it round, and bring the E down, and then curve the E last minute to make that look more like an E. And again, the roundel here inside, the area here inside the E, again could have matched the outside, so you'd have had this thickness, and this thickness all matching. I really like that when you've got a logo mark where the widths match, and you can see here they don't really, and it looks slightly awkward. So I like what you're going for, I like what you've attempted, but personally I just make sure that when you've got such a nice shape here, you're utilizing that shape inside as well to bring the second letter in, and not just whacking an E on top of it. I don't think you have. I think you've thought about it more than that, because you've sort of brought this area here, but just be a bit more careful how you do that. Hope that's useful. I do like the colours. So Nathan, here's one I just did. You can read the case study. I won't read that now, Nathan. I don't really understand the context of this, so I don't really know what I'm looking at here. What is good? Very light typeface for the sizes. I don't really like, if you're going for a logo mark like this, I'm assuming it's a logo mark, and this is going to be small or large or used in various formats. That text is going to be really, really tiny when it's small, and a little bit awkward when it's large because of its thinness compared to the thickness of this here. But if you ignore the text for a second, what you've done, the way this fits inside here is very nice. In terms of a rule of thirds, so you have third, third, third. Down here you've put this line across, which makes it really comfortable on the eye. But I'll probably need a bit more context for this, Nathan, so maybe go back to the post, explain to me what it's supposed to be, and I can probably give you a better in-depth one. Or I could read your post here, but haven't got time right this second. So looks good visually, but I don't understand the context enough, sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name, sorry. AKZ Rawat. For a unisex hair salon named Indriya, it's Hindi for senses. It was rejected for not being unique. So my question was, did you have any text with it? And the response was no, they were looking for a symbolic like Apple without text. Now when a client says they want something symbolic like Apple, what that usually means to me is they haven't really thought through exactly what they want. They've just seen something they like that someone else has done, and they're waiting for you to create something that's going to wow them the same. And that's a really hard thing to do because there's not enough thought from the client and input for you to be able to do that. So I kind of guess I see what you've done here. I'm assuming this is some kind of face and hair. It's a bit abstract. I don't really like these two colors together. They're a little bit too close in terms of palette for there to be a nice contrast. I like it when, and I think logos work well if they've got two colors in, and those two colors are very they're well matched but contrasting at the same time. There's a lot between them. A red and a blue together look really good. Sometimes a yellow and a dark grey look really good. But these two colours here are a little bit too close. To me, this looks like the front of a face, a nose, a hair, and chin, and hair coming backwards. I don't know if that's what you're going for, but I'm assuming that's what they've asked you for. Now, if they like something like Apple, Apple's a very strong logo, but it's seen a lot as well. And we must remember this when we're designing logos. The Nike logo, when they first saw it, probably didn't look that good, but it used over and over and over again. An Apple logo used over and over and over again, very strong. What you've done here, unfortunately, it's got no symmetry. It's very tall, and an icon like Apple, if you notice, is very square, very well proportioned. Even the Nike one is very well proportioned. This, unfortunately, isn't that well proportioned. Doesn't work too well, and there's a lot of white space, and you can see here a lot of negative space that doesn't quite work because the lines aren't that thick. So again, doesn't quite work for me, but maybe you could have been working off a better brief from the client. So the lesson is get a better brief from the client. Okay, moving on quickly because I want to get through a few. Michael Israel Francis, an organisation that trains dogs for veterans suffering with PTSD. So obviously a great cause. So Michael, look, see what you've done here. Okay, so my first impression is you've tried to put a lot into this logo. You've built in the text. You've built in these stars, which are kind of very military. You've used sort of military colours, which is good. You've obviously used artificial leg here, showing what can happen when you go to war, come back, and everything that goes along with that as well. And then the dog looking after the soldier looking after the dog. So I really like what you've done here. Again, if I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky, and I hope you don't mind this, but I think this is a good way for us to learn. Some things you might have thought about. I see the text, I think, works well. The text is good. It's a good typeface, and you've got some really nice spacing here in between the lines. Now, maybe you could start to simplify this a little bit. Maybe remove the black line here and the black line here, because they don't really add anything to it, and maybe thicken this grey up a little bit so the text isn't so tight. That's one thing you could do. The man and the dog together, you've done a good job here, because I think it's hard to have two elements coming together like this and overlapping each other but still look like they're separate elements, if that makes sense. And you've done that well there by outlining the head and outlining the paw, but the man's arm is going around. So that looks really good. Gets a little bit detailed around here with the gun. I don't know whether you needed to have that on there. I'm assuming you did because it's a soldier. And then obviously the foot's cut off here. Maybe that could have come outside of the shape slightly. Maybe the dog's foot as well, because the dog looks very simple compared to the man. But these, Michael, these are very, very tiny points. Overall, you've done a good job. Good colours, good concept, good typeface. And I quite like the stars here thrown in for good measure. My only thing is I probably would have put them halfway between there and there, so it just breaks up this space here. But again, small things, but overall good design. Well done, Michael. And then moving on to Milla. Milla, I know we've chatted a few times, so I hope that's how you pronounce your name. And you did give me some extra context to this, in that I think that you said the client wanted to portray infinite possibilities, and also in terms of a logo, they wanted to build a logo mark within the logo as well. So I like what you've done. First of all, I like the colours. I'm assuming this is a very dark brown maroon colour, or it might be black, it might be my screen, and a red as well. But as I said earlier, I like contrasting colours. These are very good contrasting colours. And what you've obviously done here is built the infinity sign into these two letters using, and I guess this is an explanation above of how you've used that angle to create that as well. My only slight my only slight tweak I would do on this personally is I don't like the slope on the A here, because what you've got here is you've got a certain angle here and it's not matched there, it's slightly off. If you'd have matched that and that might have worked. Or if you'd have come straight down on the A and finished it so it was a bit like this D but the other way around, I think that would have took your eye off here and kept it onto here, which is what you're after. But I like the rest of the typeface, really nice and simple. Again, the K is quite nice, how it sort of splits like this and suggests this kind of curve that runs throughout. So good typeface. Maybe would have just tweaked these A's, but I like what you've done here with the infinity sign. And I'm pretty sure from our other chat about this that that's matched the client's brief as well. Just having a sip of coffee. So, okay, now on to the last couple now. And this is, again, sorry if I mispronounced this, Bojan Viner. Colosseum logo or interior design company. Logo consists of Colosseum, icon and name. So I don't know if this is a personal project or this is an actual client. So we'll just look at it. Okay, so I like what you've done with the typeface here. The difference in size between this and this. I think this is the first logo we've looked at where you've got a primary piece of text and a secondary piece of text. My tweak would have been to align, maybe look at align this with here. You see, if you draw that line down there, it comes to the T. Draw that line down there, it comes to the N. So this needs to be centered up slightly better than it is. But I quite like this shape here that you've created. I know you've sent another piece of artwork showing me how you've done it using this golden rectangle, ideal scale here. But you've whacked another great big circle on here. So maybe explain to me, I assume the width of that is the width of that. That's how that works. But again, this good proportions, good sizes, and also good line thickness as well. So when it's small, it looks good. When it's that size, it looks good. Maybe it would have been good to see some colour in here. Maybe just if the word was colour or one of these was a shade of colour, that would have maybe given it a little bit more. But overall, good design. And again, it'd be good to give me a little bit more context of who it was for and how it's being used. So coming towards the end now, Adam Morris, logo for his logo for my self-titled graphic design business based on color psychology. Blue is professional and business-like in nature. Orange represents creativity and approachability. Yeah, I agree. But I mean, in color theory, there's a lot of different theories, and people associate a lot of different colors with a lot of different feelings. So as long as that's what you were going for and it matches, then that's great. The icon is meant to demonstrate my geometric spatial sense. It's comprised entirely of triangles in both negative and positive space, and altogether works my AM initials. Franklin Gothic was chosen as a typeface because it's timeless typeface that's been used heavily in the graphic design practice and industry. So good description. Thank you, Adam, for really explaining it. And I think in the future, when I ask people to do this, I will get them to explain a bit more. Okay, I like what you've done. I like you've obviously explored this shape quite a lot in terms of the triangles. And I think what I like, again, is this... although this isn't even spacing here, it increases as it goes up. So you've got this thinner weight here, slightly thicker, slightly larger, and it gives that sense of it coming out of the screen, even though it's all on the same baseline. Quite like how your M opens up here. It's almost like an envelope opening up. Maybe looking at it second glance, I'd like to see what it looks like if that M was as thick as this one here. That might not work, but it would just be interesting to see how that one would look, because you have got a lot of different thicknesses going on here, and on a smaller scale starts to look a little bit fussy. My other thing would be maybe swap around the orange here with the blue. So Adam Morris is in orange, because in the context of using that dark colour, orange is what I would call an accent colour. And I'm not sure if that applies to graphic design. I know I've heard it in the interior design world when you've got a room that's very natural colours, and the red or orange or yellow is used as an accent colour. So maybe if that's your accent colour there, graphic design becomes more of an emphasis than Adam Morris, and you possibly want Adam Morris as more of an emphasis than graphic design. But I'll leave that up to you. Again, these are just tweaks, as with a lot of these logos. But I like the concept, I like the triangles. Again, that's something you could use throughout, I guess, with your business cards and your website. You can start to use a lot of these triangles and shapes throughout that as well. So there's a lot of scope with this logo. But just in terms of balance as well overall, I would probably make this a little bit smaller compared to the text, because it can get a little bit overpowering. It's a very strong shape. So thank you, Adam, for that. And I'm not sure if I've got any more. Two more. So Lucian, I'm going to have to get through these, sorry, because I'm running out of time. So Lucian, logo I created for a new e-commerce shop where I plan to sell printed t-shirts, posters, hats, embroidery, etc., etc. Okay, I'm going to go on about spacing again, and I know I've mentioned this a few times, but hopefully that will give you guys some idea of how I think about things. This black space here should be really the same as this black space here. It would give you a really nice bang, bang, bang set of shapes. Quite like what you've done here, like how this comes up and this matches here. Maybe you could have done that line there off this corner here. I'm not sure how that would have looked, but also I get that gives you the space to put this text here. Overall, as a logo, I think this text is way too small compared to this. And texture, I kind of guess it looks like for the sake of texture. If you're going to use this on hoodies, embroidered t-shirts, then you definitely need to simplify and get rid of the texture. If this was this, on first glance, I first thought this was something for like a Call of Duty type game or that kind of channel on YouTube, and that would work really well with the texture. But maybe look at taking the texture out, simplifying it, looking for a better typeface here. I see how the A matches the A here, but really you want a nice contrast. So if this is kind of futuristic, hard angled edges, you want the typeface to be much simpler, much better typeface, maybe Futura, something like that. Maybe even Helvetica. See what that looks like there. But I think you're kind of halfway to an idea here, and if it was me, I'd keep pushing it. And maybe again, look at matching that gap, and even this gap here, give you some really nice symmetry then. So thank you, Lucian. And okay, I'm going to have to finish on this one, else I'll be here all night. Philippe Rabina, logo I created for positive and biblical social media graphics. Very cool. I see what you've done here with the T on ministry. That's done a lot in the Christian world and might be overkill for what you're trying to do here. The size of this compared to your text is way off. This is huge. Maybe put all this text onto one line so it's better. This GM here, I don't really like the way you've got these two typefaces. I'm assuming they're from a different font library, different typeface, and there's so much going on really. You've got this kind of dog ear, a cartoon dog ear here, this kind of weird thing that makes a shape of a mouth, and the M here. So it's kind of okay, but it's not great, Philippe. You need to really explore what you're trying to do here. To me, it seems like you've got two letters, quickly put them together. Really explore the G and the M together, a bit like, let's go back a second, a bit like Adam Morris has done. He's got the A and the M, and he's looked carefully, not just took a typeface and bolted it together, but he's looked carefully at the relationship between the two letters. So with yours, Philippe, you need to be doing that as well. So I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully that's been really useful. I would love your feedback in YouTube. Just search for This Design Life. Look for This Design Life on Facebook. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these. I'm going to give you some ways of sending me the logos so we can do them more rapid fire and get through many more next time. So thanks, guys. I hope that's really useful.